Good afternoon and welcome to this very special webcast coming to you live from the heart of Scottish Ballet's headquarters here in Glasgow. I'm Gillian Harvey from STV and today I'm joined by Mikah Smillie, Assistant Rehearsals Director. We're about to watch world-renowned choreographer Matthew Bourne as he leads the company's dancers in rehearsals for their latest production, Matthew's own version of La Sylphide, which has been retitled Highland Fling. Mikah will be helping you and me to keep in track of exactly what's happening here in rehearsals today. And I'm delighted to say that in 20 minutes time, Matthew will also be joining me directly to answer some of your questions. Please do make sure to get in touch with any queries you have for Matthew, and you can do so via Scottish Ballet's Facebook page or on Twitter using the hashtag #SBHighlandFling. But for now, let's take a quick look at the company's dancers as they rehearse one of the scenes from Highland Fling.
6 hold 7, go 8, and same for everyone else in the canon of that, yeah? You want to get there, hold, be still for a count, and then go. Then we get the image, yeah.
Alright, should we do this with music, ladies and gentlemen, from...
Okay, so Mikah, we're just coming into rehearsals here. Explain a wee bit to me about the scene that we're seeing here.
So this is the opening of Act 2, where we are in the world of the sylphs, and our sylphs are all male and female, and they're a little bit more savage and wild than the original, and they're smeared in mud and dirt. And this is just the introduction to them in the world, which is set in dumping grounds. So just in front of you, you've got the old sofa, and in the left-hand corner, the chair represents rubbish heap. And up at the back, there's a table, and that represents an old disused car. And so this little section that you're just seeing now is called Galloping Sylphs.
Okay, for anyone who's not familiar with the story of Highland Fling, give us a quick summary of the plot. It's quite a rugged, raw ballet, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. It just follows the story of James, who is a lad who... It's based in a council flat in the middle of Glasgow, and it follows the lead James and his obsession with this sylph, and that he'll do basically whatever it takes just to try and find and capture the sylph. So it's his story and journey and the allure that the sylph has whilst leaving his betrothed Effie.
So how long does it take to rehearse for a production like this?
Yes, well, we've been rehearsing with Scottish Ballet for 4 weeks, and that's just to learn all the material.
No, you don't. Some of you might need to circle on stage and come back anyway. Can I just have a look at the very last bit when you're, it's from when some galloping sylphs are going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, and doing that bit. Does everybody else know where you are? That's your cue, isn't it? The 1, 2 for the next lot of people who are coming in. I just want to have a look at the pathway as we exit. So you guys are going, 1, 2. I don't know what you guys are doing. Yeah. Ready? So we go 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Should we keep that rule of it always exiting, leading with the right arm at the back? Yeah, if we can. Get a bit of unity to those exits.
Yeah. And when you get into this arabesque, have your face up as you go, and then you start to run, and then that arm will probably have to come over.
Am I I right almost jump into it?
Yeah, it is a jump. It's
Yeah.
an ensemble.
It's an ensemble, okay. Yes. Bit high there. Behind you, yeah.
Okay. Now I'd
Maybe only
like
dance
to
companies
look at
is lower.
trees and the spacing of trees, because Gurn at the moment is in the wrong place. So we need to change where Gurn is. So for really, the Gurn person needs to sort of get into this kind of place so that he ends up over here somewhere. 'Cause
Why
at the
don't we see
moment-
where people end up and see where you want him
Yeah.
to be?
Can you just go to where you stop on 5 trees? So you need to be a bit further into the space. Bit in, yeah. So, Victor, you could go past a bit. And I feel like Gurn, but it's going to be more a similar place to where he was.
We just don't want him in front of where he sits, where James sits, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's why we're going to change him, because we need to have you a bit more in the centre. And what do? We just exit after this, don't we? So you could be up. What do we do after the end of the move first? So if you were, what would happen? Because you end up there anyway, don't you? So go up there for now. Let's say you're going to be one of the first ones, yeah. And in a bit, and maybe Victor slightly further upstage. No, in that gap there. Can you go into your tree positions? Can you, what happens if Amy comes forward a little bit in front? Yeah, in that gap.
Okay.
What's that? Can you
That
do
will
your
probably
next-
work,
Can
yeah.
you do your next change? And then do your dee 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 dee, and then show me where you move next.
And then they do a drop, some people.
Yeah,
Is that
some
right?
people drop. Do your next move.
I just whether we wanted more drops downstage.
Do you want Laura to drop?
Yes, I think
Laura,
so,
why
yeah.
don't you drop?
Yeah.
And Lewis stays as he is because he's got the jacket.
Ah, yeah, that's good. That was good.
And then let's do our next move. So Laura, you're going to end up turning to face front. Yeah, you do. Your next move would be there. And then your next move.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's try and get to that.
Should we try and do that? See if we can achieve that with trees. Everybody, here we go.
Okay, Mikah, just explain. We've had some direction there from Etta Murfitt, the rehearsal director,
Let's do it with the
and she's
jacket.
just explaining to the dancers what she would like changed
Yep.
and how she would like things done differently. What was she explaining there to the dancers?
Well, this little section's called trees, and what happens is the sylphs take on other forms. So they inhabit other forms, and this is where they change and turn into trees, and they become a forest. And this starts James's journey. So we're just going to see the trees move across the stage simultaneous to this. James is going to come on, walking through, and he's kind of showing his journey throughout. What they want to achieve is that there's going to be a lovely little moment where James hangs his coat on one of the trees, and as he's not looking, the trees and the sylphs change places, and the jacket is in a different place, and he's thus already expecting, it's kind of sensing that something's just slightly amiss around here. So here's Chris, who is playing James. There he's hanging the jacket up on one of the trees, and he's sat down under another, and this is like the dew that's coming off, and he's just taking some water here. And now, here's the changing of positions. Now he goes to go and get his jacket and it's no longer where he originally had it. I think he's slightly disturbed by this.
This is one of the very mythical scenes then in Highland Fling. It's quite a mystical ballet, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. Especially the Sylph world. But this has got our songs that are a little wilder, a little bit more not in control as much, a bit more mystical, yes.
Okay, we've got
a bit more savage.
Etta Murfitt just coming over here to give a bit more direction. Etta, of course, danced in Matthew's original production of Highland Fling. So she has first-hand knowledge of the parts, and she can help guide the dancers in their different characters.
Yeah, she's restaged it before, so when I then joined the company, she restaged it on us.
Don't travel so far when you first come on, so you're not
Matthew Bourne, just giving a bit of direction here as well.
Chris or Owen put the jacket on him.
That's him.
So we've
Lewis,
got that moment.
so you stay there, and then when you do your first change,
that's him re-emphasising that moment of, I thought I saw something, did I? So just setting up that idea quite beautifully and subtly of something not quite right, but James is a bit unsure as to what's going on around him in the
switches need to be sharper, doesn't it? Drop.
Yeah,
and these
so
are
just
all it's very specific timing, that's what they're getting, trying to get really precisely done.
They have to be quite quick and efficient, because we don't want James to see that you're alive in sylphs. You're shape-shifting into trees and odd rocks and things like that, so it's got to be quite quick. So each time you change, it's got to be really quick and efficient. And then what's great is from there, then suddenly all your heads start to move, but your body stays in the same place, and then you go back down again. So that's the sort of the wit of it, in a way. So it's got to be quite clean, those changes. But anyway, let's go back into our petrified trees, and let's have a look at Chris's pathway. Where would you like him to go?
Yeah.
That's good.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Good. And then turn, that's it. And then you've got a little bit of time to dip your ties on. You've already undone it a little bit, and you've opened up your shirt a bit, and then you take your tie off and you go and flop on the chair.
Just again, you need a little moment of registering that you've heard something behind you. So you get there like, what was that? Before you turn around. So we can see it in your face a little. Yeah.
Should we do trees one more time and think about those quick changes?
Yeah, I think that's what most people are doing. It's sort of one turned out.
I think if you think about the leg that you're stepping on as being straight, your knee to knee, rather than having two legs bent. Yeah. That's it. Okay. Let's do that then. Thank you, Zoe.
Nice and sharp with those as well. Yeah, heavy there.
Feel this, the three that are going off, really feel that with each other.
So today in the rehearsal room we've got Etta Murfitt, Matthew Bourne's rehearsal director, Matthew Bourne himself, and of course Christopher Hampson, Scottish Ballet's artistic director. This must be quite nerve-wracking for the dancers to have all of these people in front of them watching what they're doing today. But I guess that's just part of the process.
That is totally part of the process, absolutely. They're now in the fourth week, so we've got production week next week. And this is what's happening here, is everything is being fine-tuned, so Matt is now just the timing, the specifics of everything is being finely tuned. And we also work with two casts simultaneously, so we need to make sure that each cast is doing the same as the other as well. So yes, all eyes are on them, definitely.
Yeah. Are the two casts both performing today? Or is this just one cast we're seeing here?
What happens is we will refine a section and then we'll swap over the casts because the other cast will be watching what's been going on, and then they will rehearse as well to make sure everyone's got all the new notes and that they've physicalised it in their bodies as well.
Okay, just a quick reminder to everyone, we have got Matthew Bourne answering your questions live in about 5 minutes or so. Please do send in any queries you've got for Matthew, and you can do so on Scottish Ballet's Facebook page or on Twitter using the hashtag SB Highland Fling. This is a rare opportunity to question Matthew Bourne, who is one of the world's leading choreographers and directors. So please do take up the opportunity and send in your questions.
Yeah, you've got all this music to fill here. Perhaps, yeah.
Looking up to the moon. Okay, let's look at that bit. Let's look at that bit. All right, so get down on the floor. Let's do our da-da-da-da-da-da.
It's probably best if you look away there as
So
well.
we've got-
So you've
And
got to feel that music until they come right. But if you look sort of doing it this way,
Let's see where the first
is
group
you've got
goes.
to
Second group don't move yet. First
you've got to
group.
lean against her a little bit more. You've got to like you're leaning against the tree in a sense, yeah.
And second
You do
group.
the water there. There.
All right, so let's go.
And then
let's
they
go
move
back.
after that, don't they? They shift on.
Go back to where you're just about to.
Oh, that's when you don't say okay.
So you're up,
Okay,
up.
and then you're back onto somebody else. So you need to sort of make sure you're making the same position and connecting.
Actually, let's say Sophie, you become first.
And then when you
group,
stand it, do you shut your eyes at some point?
And which way do the first group run? So you're going to run that way.
I just wonder whether that's what we do to
But try and come back to your normal space.
shift
So let me just see first group go, do your circle.
No, you don't need to. No, I think it's that you've got to make sure that that's the bit where you can't see them. You know, yeah. So you feel that moment until they've stopped again, and then you lean back and then you decide to get up.
Let's see your, well, maybe you need to go
Yeah,
around Brenda.
that chair looks a bit more comfortable.
Maybe go around Brenda.
Over there somewhere. Yeah.
Why don't you become a second group person, and whether you become a first group person, you're going to go round. Yeah, let's try that. So let's just see that. So just do the first group, start to walk round, just walk. And Victor, maybe you can end up, we did this last time, didn't we? the Remy's and Victors ended up downstage. Should we try that one more time? And first group move.
You also might be a little bit longer.
That you
with the
stop
jacket
there,
thing,
yeah.
so that you
Second
can
group,
take more
show me
time
where
with
you're moving.
this. Like, oh, it's not there.
And Andrew, come out
there.
on that way,
Over and get it.
out, a bit more.
Take it. Then
Can I
have a
see that
moment
one
looking
more
back
time?
again.
Do
Like,
it
I'm sure I put it
together.
over there.
Ready?
And then like, well, this pace is a bit freaky. You know, and that's your reason to go. There's something funny going on.
First group goes.
Yeah, like, shit. You don't have to make too much of it, but you want to keep it fairly like,
So,
it doesn't have to be funny necessarily, but it's just that sort of,
try not to be on a line with somebody on that diagonal. It's really lovely diagonals now. So try, that's good. Try not to be, that's good spacing. So we're not completely in a line. If we just pick that up musically from the end of trees. So we're on the floor. Let's just see if that's going to work for the music. that worked really nicely, and your spacing was really lovely. Should we do that one more time, just to make sure it's completely concrete, that getting into that? And then we have to definitely pass that on to the other cast.
Yeah, you should be in a nice shaft of moonlight here that you can actually focus on. There will be a light that's very obviously the moon, as it were, so you can focus up on that.
Do that one more time.
Okay, so just one final run through of the scene here. Again, is this just a repeat of what we saw before? Is this a slightly different scene that we're seeing here?
This is just called the moon phrase, and they're moon worshippers, so the moon's up in the top right-hand corner there. And from this phrase, they break out now that you see, and they go into a little pack, and this is into hunting and gathering, where they're going for food, and this shows a lot more savage side to the sylphs.
Let's stop. We need to, with the other cast, do that lovely spacing that we've just sorted out.
Sure.
So,
Okay, Mikah, thank you very much for joining us today and explaining a wee bit about what's happening here in the scenes. I think what we'll do now is pass over to Matthew and we'll get some of the viewers' questions.
Absolutely.
Great.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks, bye-bye.
That's what should be focused on something.
Okay, so a quick chance to chat to Matthew, a chance to ask all those burning questions that you've always wanted to know about dance.
Oh, yes, of course.
We're just going to be joined by Matthew just now and we'll go through some of your questions. Matthew, welcome. Hi. So rehearsals seem to be going really well so
Very
far.
well, yes.
Yeah, tell me a wee bit about what you were practicing today, this scene. Mikah explained a little bit, but if you can just explain the direction you were giving to the dancers.
Well, this is Act 2, the second half, where everyone is a sylph, becomes a sylph. And James has just kind of dropped into sylphland, as it were. And he's... What they're doing basically is morphing into trees and the landscape in a way, but it's almost like they're keeping an eye on him, but he hasn't seen them yet. They can see him, but he can't see them.
It seems to me it's very mystical. It's very in keeping with the themes of Highland Fling, very mythical and mystical. And
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's a sense of mystery and magic, and it's like the landscape coming alive. You know, you have to imagine something very misty and slightly scary, I guess. You know, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, we've had lots of questions come in for you while the rehearsals were on, so we'll start off with the first
good.
one.
Right.
Okay, so Matthew, how did you get a feel for Scottish culture before you wrote Highland Fling? And did you hang out in Glasgow nightclubs? That, of course, makes reference to the very modern story.
When I first did the piece was in 1994, so we're talking nearly 20 years ago. And I just started to tour with my company to Scotland. I'd never been before, you know, I'd had no reason to come to Scotland, but being a Londoner. And when we started to tour, we had some venues that we came to, and I sort of fell in love with the countryside and the culture of Scotland, and that's one of the things that kind of inspired me to do the piece. As far as clubbing goes and nightclubs and things, I had my own experiences of that when I was a bit younger in London. But unfortunately not in Glasgow.
You haven't experienced Glasgow nightclubs? You're
no, and I'm too old now. Don't be an old fogey at the bar, you know.
Brilliant. Okay, so we've got another question come through here. Highland Fling is nearly 20 years old. Are you making any changes to the choreography?
Well, up to a point, yes. We start off with what the choreography was when we last did it, which is I think in 2005. But I like to adapt to dancers, you know, I like them to add a bit of themselves to it, obviously up to a point, but I'm certainly open to ideas, and if I see something I like, I will change it as we go, you know, and that has happened already. So it's not a case of just setting something in aspic and doing it again. it's keeping it alive. Yeah, very much.
Okay. Another question here from online. Matthew, what is your favourite place in Scotland?
Oh,
Be careful how you
goodness.
answer
I
this
know,
here.
This is a tricky one, isn't it? Well, I don't know all of Scotland, of course, because I've not been everywhere. And we tour regularly to Edinburgh and Glasgow, which I love, both. Very different. I love them in different ways. But I think my favourite places that I've been are the more rural places. And I did do a trip once to the Isle of Mull, which I thought was amazing and so mystical and inspiring. So I would say that, I think.
And you mentioned there when you tour to different cities, do you find you get a huge difference between the audiences in, say, Edinburgh, Glasgow,
Yes.
Aberdeen?
It's amazing. Audiences I've got to know very well over the years, and I'm fascinated by the differences. And in this big country, little country of ours, how big the differences are. And in Scotland even, as you say, the difference between Glasgow audience and Edinburgh audience, such a short distance, it can be so different. Of course, when you go around the world, it can be even more different. So I've got to know that over the years, and we talk about it as a company sometimes as well. You know that the audiences here tend to be really lively, or they need a bit of warming up, or they don't react much till the end, or something.
Yeah.
It varies
So it really
much.
varies
Yeah, it
massively.
varies a lot. Yeah.
Great. Another question has come in. Matthew, what do you look for when auditioning a dancer?
Interestingly, I guess what I look for is obviously the dance training is very important. A good solid 3 or 4 year dance training is essential. But beyond that, I think I look for people who are quite individual, people who want to use their minds a bit as well as their bodies. I like people who are very giving in their performance and who want to give to an audience. And in most of my work, they need to be able to act as well. So that's something they need to learn how to do and to be open to that. You know.
Yeah, because Highland Fling's very much about acting the part as well as dancing the part, isn't it?
Very much, yes. And we've had, a whole experience with the Scottish Ballet dancers of getting them to develop their characters and to really work on that, which has been great fun for them, I think.
Another question here, Matthew, where did you get the idea for your all-male Swan Lake, which of course, world-renowned?
Where did I get the idea? Well, the idea was just to think about that story with male swans and see what it would do to the story. The idea, I don't know where it came from exactly, but I remember daydreaming watching the classical version a bit and thinking, well, what would happen if the swans were male? What would that do to the story? And also, at the time I was making it, there was lots of royal scandal going on in the newspapers around the mid-90s with Diana and Charles and Camilla. And so it was sort of inspired by that a little bit as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, about a prince who can't be who he wants to be, Yeah.
Okay. And another final question here. Matthew, do you miss touring small-scale work or do you enjoy the large-scale work more?
I enjoy both, actually. We had the chance to do some of the smaller scale work last year as well, and we did a bit of both, and they've both got their benefits, and I love them. I love it equally in a way. You do miss this small company, the friendships of that creates, because you're all mucking in together, in a way, and that's a nice feeling. But you can create that in a big company as well, if you have to work at it a bit harder.
And just one final question that's come in, and this is quite a nice one to end on. Matthew, have you ever given someone a Glasgow kiss?
No, but I know what it is. There is one in the piece, though. We do have a Glasgow kiss in the piece, so I do know what it is, but no, I haven't.
You haven't? That's good to hear. Definitely good to hear. Okay, well, thank you very much, Matthew.
Thank you very much.
That's all we've got time for today. Thank you very much to everyone who tuned in and to those who sent us questions for this very special live web stream here from Scottish Ballet's headquarters in Glasgow. Highland Fling opens in Glasgow on April 27th before touring to Inverness, Aberdeen and Edinburgh. And for our international viewers, you'll be pleased to know that Highland Fling is also coming to Hong Kong early next year, and we do hope to see you at one of those shows. Thank you very much, and bye for now.